We're going to start out here on the daily chart for Bitcoin. And I'm going to actually compare it really quickly to some other cryptocurrency markets. Bitcoin right now, from all-time high, is still down 23%. On Ethereum is still down 23% from its all-time high, whereas Cardano is actually 18% above its previous all-time high. So Cardano is leading the charge on this one. I want to go ahead and set the foundation for that because the TA on Bitcoin is going to be quite a bit different than the TA on Cardano. But nevertheless, one of the first things I want to point out here on Bitcoin is this rising wedge that we see Bitcoin finding itself in. We have an uptrending level of resistance and an uptrending level of support. I'm going to start with the bearish factors because I like to go ahead and get the bad news out of the way first. This is bad news for Bitcoin. This uptrending rising wedge has a statistical likelihood of breaking to the downside. In fact, there is a 70% likelihood that Bitcoin should break to the downside here based on historical analysis of rising wedges. Now, if you haven't gone through the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, which you most certainly should, the link's in the description box down below, you will know that rising wedges have a 70% chance of breaking to the downside because they have an uptrending level of resistance, an uptrending level of support, and historical analysis shows us that about 70% of the time they will break bearish. But that's not the only factor that we need to look at. Out on the daily chart, we also see that there is what is known as Bearish Rsi Divergence on Bitcoin at the moment. That is constituted by a downtrending level of resistance on the RSI and an uptrending level of resistance on the chart. So notice how we have an uptrending resistance level and we have a downtrending resistance trend right here on the RSI. These two moving in different directions are what is known as bearish RSI divergence. Let's break that down. It's bearish because they're pointed in opposite directions, and the same thing as the rising wedge. Statistically speaking, if you look back on the history of markets, this is a bearish pattern. That's how we do technical analysis. We look at previous trends in our price action so that we can make predictions about what will happen in future price action. It is bearish, so that's bearish. RSI, it's using the RSI, and it's divergence because these two trend lines are divergent. They're moving in different directions. The price trend line is moving to the upside. The RSI trend line is moving to the downside. So that's bearish RSI divergence. There's a few more things, but actually there's not many. I'm actually going to jump over here to our notes really quickly. Tell you some of the bearish ones. Another one that we're looking at is slowing momentum on the weekly chart. That's one of the things I want to point out to you guys. If we look out to the weekly chart, Bitcoin has been moving to the upside for 6 weeks straight, which we're going to talk about here in a second in the bullish segment. But I want to compare what Bitcoin looks like right now to what Cardano looks like right now. They've both been moving to the upside for the last 6 weeks, but Cardano has obviously been moving much faster to the upside in the last 6 weeks. This is what you need to be paying attention to when you're doing technical analysis. This is a bit of a side note, but it's very important. You can look at this and blanket slate say, okay, we've been moving to the upside for the last 6 weeks on Bitcoin and on Cardano. You could say that, but you'd be missing out on so much information. More importantly than just that, let's look at how we've been moving to the upside for the last 6 weeks. On Cardano, we've been accelerating over the last 6 weeks. On Bitcoin, we've been decelerating over the last 6 weeks. So that is a very, very important sign. We're going to talk about how 6 weeks of bullishness is a bullish and good thing in a minute, but the fact it's slowing down is not that good of a thing. Reading here further on my notes, you can also, guys, see that we are looking at lowering volume here on Bitcoin. The volume on Bitcoin has been steadily declining over the last 5 weeks, along with the volatility. So we've seen the volume go down as we're entering this rising wedge. These are the bearish factors that we're looking at on Bitcoin right now. So one of the final things here, guys, that I want to point out on the bearish argument is that on VPVR, which is the volume profile for the visible range, you guys always ask me what that stands for, so that's what it stands for. VPVR shows how much trading we've had at certain regions. So for example, in this area right here between 30,000 and 43,000, we had a ton of trading. But right here at 42,000, you can see we didn't have very much trading at all. So VPVR shows us where support and resistance zones are. One of the last bearish things we need to pay attention to is that now we're above $50,000. We are going to be contending with this spike in VPVR volume, sitting up here at $52,500 and going all the way up to $62,500 because we had a ton of trading up here earlier on in the year. So be paying attention to that. But now let's go ahead and talk about the bullish factors because there are actually quite a lot of them. Let's start with the MACD here on the daily chart. You can see the MACD is trending to the upside. We have broken bullish over the last 3 days. And looking out to the weekly chart, of course, we are bullish as well. And looking out to the monthly chart, we're actually diverging bullish again. We've been having bearish convergence on the MACD on the monthly chart for the last 3 months, but now, since we've been moving to the upside, it looks like this is diverging bullish again. You can tell that it's diverging bullish again because of the candlestick color change right here. This color represents divergence, and this candlestick color represents convergence. So we are seeing bullish divergence on the monthly chart MACD. There's several other things, though, guys. If we look here at our moving averages, we can see that our 50 moving average has crossed bullish above our 100 moving average. You can see that right there. This is very important. This is a really, really powerful cross. This is what's known as a golden cross. And there's actually a couple of other crosses there going on right now. You can see as of today, maybe tomorrow, we're going to see a bullish cross between the 200 daily simple moving average right here. That moving average has a very, very important role to play in the history of Bitcoin. Looking back on Bitcoin's history, you generally stay above the 200 while you're in a bull market. So we definitely want to see Bitcoin stay above that. But bullish golden crosses a lot of times will happen probably about halfway through an uptrend. We've kind of debunked the power of the death cross, but the golden cross does actually have quite a bit of sway, and we are seeing that there's going to be a golden cross tomorrow. Another bullish thing I want to point out here, guys, is that the TD sequential did get overextended, but it reset perfectly. The TD sequential reset, and we're now only at 4, which gives us more room to run. And if we look at the RSI, yes, we're seeing bearish RSI divergence, but also keep in mind, we are only sitting at 70. So the RSI had healthy corrections over the last several days, meaning that what we're looking at right now is most likely a very healthy run. Looking at the Bollinger Bands, we can also see that we're still in the Bollinger Bands, and as we're going to talk about in an article a little bit later, the Fear and Greed Index has us put somewhere around 70 or 80, which we can see right here. The Fear and Greed Index is currently sitting around 80, which means that there's quite a bit of bullish sentiment in the cryptocurrency market. So those are our bullish factors. Those are our bearish factors. I'll give you one more, actually, a little bit of a sneak peek. We have been bouncing off the 20 daily exponential moving average over the last several weeks. That is indicative of bullishness, and of course we are still setting higher highs, as you can see, and higher lows, as you can see right here. So Bitcoin is firmly in an uptrend. The thing we have to be careful about is, where does this uptrend stop? What are we about to see happen? Are we going to see some consolidation? Are we going to see some sideways movement? Are we going to see a correction? Because right now we're seeing two bearish sides of the same coin on Bitcoin and Cardano. Bitcoin is rallying a little bit too slowly. It's losing momentum. And Cardano, on the other hand, is rallying too fast and is gaining too much momentum and could have a blow-off top. So Bitcoin looks like it might be creating a rounding top. Cardano looks like it might be creating a blow-off top. The question for today's stream and for today's technical analysis is, are we about to see a big correction on Bitcoin and Cardano, or is this the beginning of a massive bull market to the upside? And what are we going to see happen next? Tim, I want to hear your take on that, and I want to hear chat's take also. Where do you think these markets are going next? Tim, do you think we're going to see a rounding top on Bitcoin? Do you think we're going to see a blow-off top on Cardano? Are we about to see a big correction on these, or is the rally going to continue?
I think that we are going to see a slight correction. And when I say correction, again, that doesn't necessarily mean down, although I think potentially over this week we're going to see the price drop a little bit. I think we're going to see almost a sideways correction as we continue to move up. And ultimately, you know, the trend is your friend until it ends.
Yes.
It hasn't ended yet. We're still trending up. Even these sideways downward movements are still part of an upward trend. I'm going to need to see not only a very, very strict and big fall before I say the trend is over, I also want to see it last longer than 4 or 5 days. Because even last week, you know, there was the turtles predicted a week ago, you know, that we're going to have a bearish week. And we kind of laughed at first. And then it was like, oh, wait, no, the turtles were mostly right.
The turtles were right.
They were right for like 4 of those days. And then on that last day, the trend continued bullish. And I think we're going to see maybe something similar where we kind of move sideways and
Tim,
down.
For everybody who wasn't watching the stream on Friday, Poe predicted that Bitcoin was going to go down, predicted that Ethereum was going to go up, and predicted that Cardano was going to go down.
You know what's super funny?
Yeah.
I'm the same boat.
I actually agree with Poe.
I think Poe is dead on.
I think he's right.
Old Poe.
I think he's right. Here, let me show you why, guys, while you guys are asking some questions in chat. Guys, let me show you why I think Poe might be right. Bitcoin is having a rounding top. Looks like it's going to have some correction this week. Cardano just needs correction and consolidation. We're going to talk about that in a second. Ethereum, of the three, is like the middle child. It's not too bearish, it's not too cold, and it's not too bullish, it's not too hot. It's sitting right there in the middle. We're not going to talk about Ethereum today, but just for your sake, it is in an ascending triangle pattern. A lot of the factors are very bullish, but not too bullish. So Ethereum is looking good. We're going to talk about it more tomorrow. Anyway, I'm actually pretty bullish on Bitcoin in the medium term, but this week, considering we're starting at $50,000, I'm really wondering what's going to happen here. I think that Bitcoin is going to do this. We've looked at the bearish, we've looked at the bullish. Now let's move to our predictions, and then we'll talk about trades. Bitcoin is in a rising wedge. That is very bearish, as we've talked about. And rising wedges and RSI divergence are very rarely ignored. We've talked about that on the channel. These are very powerful chart formations, and they don't get ignored very often. However, one thing to keep in mind is that $50,000 is a very important region. And the fact that we broke bullish out of it just about 16 hours ago and breaking that psychological barrier means that there is a good likelihood that we're going to sit here for a little while. We didn't break this with a lot of confidence. Notice we broke it and we only moved to 50,200. I've watched Bitcoin break big levels like $20,000 before, and then guess what happened? We moonshotted. Right here on December 16th, 2020, we broke $20,000, and within like 2 days, we were at $24,000. That's not what we've seen happen this time. Bitcoin has broken $50,000 and is sitting at 50,200. A lot of times you'll see a fake out breakout above a psychological resistance level like this, and then it won't last very long because it didn't get the momentum that it needed. Take a look at the volume here. What volume? That is not a confirmed breakout as far as I'm concerned. Yes, the number is $50,262 at the time of recording this. That is not a confirmed breakout, even if it is above that level, because we have not seen a lot of volume come in. We have not seen any confirming indicators saying that we're about to go to 51, 52, 53,000. What I think is going to happen this week is that unless we see a bunch of volume come in on Monday, now that a lot of people are coming back to trading, and that is possible, I think that Bitcoin is going to either trade sideways here, pull back slightly, and frankly, there's an opportunity for Bitcoin even to create a head and shoulders pattern right here by pulling back below 50 down to 47 and down to 48 and a half, testing 50 again, and then moving to the downside. I'm not very bullish on Bitcoin this week. However, if Ethereum breaks bullish and if Cardano manages to maintain its momentum, then that could spill over into Bitcoin and cause it to rally. But looking at Bitcoin purely as its own force, I think it's going to trade sideways. If at most I would see it going to 51.5, I'd be relatively surprised if it went above that this week.